Welcome back. Today we're going to take a look at how to use the class system in OWS to be able to set up different classes that we can select when we create our character. And so we're going to take a look at that today, and as part of doing that we're also going to have to basically take the whole login system UI and make it our own because it all relies on itself. So might be a bit of a long one here. Okay, we got to start. We need to update to the latest version here, 2018-09-19. And so I've downloaded that, and we'll do the same as we always do. Go into our folder here, delete OWS plugin, and we'll come back to the zip file. Go find that OWS plugin, right-click, copy, back out to the plugins folder, and we'll paste it. Okay, and then we'll open up the Ue4 Editor. Yeah, a little slow here today. Okay, that's done. We're going to open the editor here. But we're also going to need to go and take a look at the management console. So log in, go to your character's screen, and we're going to go to classes. Now I've already created these classes here. So I've created one called Seraph and one called Seraph Future. Okay, so to do that you're going to hit add a class, and we're going to fill in this information. I'm going to go back so I can show you what I put. Okay, so the class name is Seraph. These are the two classes that we're creating. We're going to basically use two different skins of Seraph as our way of visually showing which class it is. Okay, so fill that in. You can take all the defaults for this. This here needs to be your starting zone name. So if you're following along like we are, you have our world 1 and our world 2. We're going to do our world 1. These starting XYZ values were copied out of the third-person game mode starting location, right? So that was one that we made sure was above the landscape, and so I basically copied those settings out. I took the defaults here. For health I did 100. Now a lot of times what I do is I'll start these out in development. I'll start the health and mana lower than the max. And the reason I do that is just an easy way to tell if I'm connected to the API, because the defaults load up as full. And so if you see that your resource bars up in the top left in the game load as 90%, you know, hey, I must have got the right values from the database. So putting those values in there. The regen rates aren't doing anything yet. And then I came down here just to show you guys how to do this. So I made one of them, so I made the Seraph have 8 strength and 12 dex, whereas the Seraph Future has 12 strength and 8 dex. So I was just kind of showing how, you know, as you're building out these classes for your game, you can set up the starting stats of whatever stats you may be using. And this is the starting point that will get created. So this is where a new character will start. This is your new character starting location for this class. And then these stats are what will get used for that. So then we're going to save that. I'm just going to hit back to list. And then create this Seraph Future and make sure it has that same name, Seraph _ Future, same starting location. And if you want to play around with different stats like I did, you can do that. But we've got to make sure those are created in advance because we're going to be using those to create our characters. Okay, so the first thing that we want to take a look at is where we would, okay, if you don't have this OWS plugin content, go here, show plugin content, but you should have that from a previous video. And we're going to take a look under UMG, and we'll see we have this create character widget. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I want to add a drop down underneath this name that lets me pick which one of those classes. Now you could, if you want to later go and expand on this, you could have a nice selection screen pop up that lets you see the different characters, you know, visually on the screen and stuff. But we're trying to do it quickly here. That would take hours and hours. And so we're just going to kind of create a drop down here. The problem is that we don't want to modify the plugin. If you modify anything in this plugin, the next time you take a new plugin from me, it's going to get overwritten. So what we really want to do is we want to make copies of these. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to say duplicate, and I'm going to change the OWS prefix to MMO. You can name these whatever you want. So I've now copied it, but I don't want it in here. I'm going to move all this stuff over in login. This is actually where it used to be. Okay, and so we're going to open this up. Okay, we're going to come in here, and let's see. We're going to want a drop down, but it needs a label, so we're going to another horizontal box. So let's go here, and we'll drop another horizontal box. And then inside that, we'll drop some text. And we'll put class. And we'll change the color to black. Okay. And then we'll go and we'll add a drop down, which is the combo box. And we're going to make this a variable, and we're going to name it drop down class name. And we'll make it fill. And we can come in here and we can add the options. So remember we had serif. We want these to exactly match the names we used for the classes. Serif future. Okay. Let's give this horizontal box some nice padding. Probably don't need a lot at the bottom, but wait. This horizontal box. Maybe 20. Yeah, it looks pretty good. So now we're going to have to make this whole thing bigger here. Let's try 250. And then we're going to go, and because of that, we're going to do minus 125 on, so it still positions in the center of the screen. And that's probably passable. Now here's where the problems are going to come in. OWS login player controller, OWS login player controller. Well, that's not going to work because we need to modify how all of this stuff works. And so we need to also go now and create our own login player controller. Eventually we're going to replace practically all of these. So we come back over here, OWS login player controller. We duplicate it, change the prefix to MMO, save, and we're going to drag this over into login. We're going to end up doing all these one at a time. Just kind of follow the path through. That's what I did as they throw errors. So now that we have that, now we can go here and take these and we can say cast to MMO login player controller. But you'll notice now that you can't use those, right? So you have to go and basically find the one, what was it, hide create character widget, hide create character widget, and then we'll just be going through and replacing all these. And I'm going to copy that. Make sure you realize where all the wires go before you dump it. We'll have to be careful on some of these. There's a good chance that we break something during this process. We got a lot of stuff to change. See, that's not going to connect. So use get user session GUID. And player controller. That one did work because it was the underlying player controller. So that one did work. Cool. Okay. Now here we've got this class name. Okay. And so what we want to do now is we want to grab this class name here. We were just hard-coded male warrior before, but we want to grab the one from our drop-down, and we want to say get selected option. And now I can connect those. So now it'll use that one that we created. And I think we're good. This one was pretty simple, so I think we're good on that one. But now where the fun's going to come in is this one. If we hit compile, oh wait, no, well, we haven't changed them yet. So now we got to come here. We got to do a few different things. All of these widgets are eventually going to have to get changed to the new ones. probably means it's, well, now let's keep doing it one at a time. Let's keep doing it one at a time. Okay, so we're looking through for stuff that's using OWS create character widget. See that? So this one now needs to be MMO create character widget. Okay, which means we won't be able to connect to that. So now we got to see create character widget here is the wrong type. MMO create character widget. It's fine. We're going to break a ton of stuff. Now we can connect it. Okay, but we actually wanted it to break so that it can tell us what to change. So we can come down here. Okay, not a problem. So we grab our create character widget out of here. I think these are base types, so I think they'll connect up fine. Okay, cool. That's going to handle the create character widget. Yep, so that one's good. So the next one we're going to have to take a look at here. The login's going to be fine. We're going to get rid of the change color because we don't need that anymore. And so, oh, it opened up over there. Okay. So, but let's go change the select character widget because we're going to change how that works. So we're going to go into our select character widget, duplicate, and we're going to drag that to login. And then we're also going to need this login game mode. So we're going to duplicate this. MMO login game mode. And that's actually what's going to get set in the level. Let's remove that over here. Okay. So this is going to set what classes we use, and so this one's going to now get our MMO login player controller. And that gets set in the level itself, so we want to come here to our login level, go to world settings, and change this from OWS login game mode to MMO login game mode. Now that means it will use that, which is good. Okay, we're not ready to test it. Okay, so we've got the select character widget, we've got the login player controller, we've got the MMO login game mode, so I think we're good on that. I think we're good on the create. Let's see, I had to change login itself as well. While we're going through here, might as well just do all of them. So we're going to duplicate OWS login widget. Stuff's all interconnected, so once the references start breaking, they all break. Too many dependencies. Okay, and that's over here as well. Let's take a look at this code. Say OWS login player controller. That's no good. So we need MMO login player controller because there wouldn't be an OWS one anymore, and that would fail. None of the buttons would work. Okay, show loading dialog. See what else we got in here. I don't see any others connected. Oh, yep. What do we got here? Target. Haha. All of these. Okay. So get user session. Oh, these were all connected to this, I guess. Hold on, let me bring this one up over here. Login widget. Yeah. Remember I said about being careful about lines? All of these had lines drawn to them. So get user session GUID. Or wait, we wanted a set user session GUID. And we'll swap out that one. Careful to wire everything up. I made a lot of mistakes when I was doing this in the test one because I forgot to wire stuff up. Show select character widget. Show select character widget. Hi, oops. hide login widget. And you can try to arrange these better. I'm not going to worry about them looking super nice. And hide loading dialog. Okay, that covers those. So we just have this one, which was also hide loading dialog. So we're going to pull that one down here. But do make sure we wire it up. Okay, so we're good on the login widget. We're going to close that one, say we're done. But let's see. Login widget. Here we go. See? So this one's the OWS login widget. This needs to be the MMO login widget. And now this one's no good. Login widget. We have to come here. Change this to MMO login widget. Yes, we're willing to break all the references. That's fine. So we got to see where this is pointed to. Okay. Is valid. And add to viewport. Because it automatically shows that on load. So let's see what else we got down here. Okay, login widget. It's weird that that one... Oh, that's loading. Login widget. Grab that back. We're basically just going through breaking things one at a time and then just fixing any of the errors that show up. Okay, on this one, login widget, we have to get the get txt email. It won't connect to it as is. A lot of these nodes are smart, and as you drag off them, they use their dynamic type system to figure out what they are. So they don't know how to fix themselves. Okay, so we're good there. That's still fine. This change color thing we don't even need. I'm not going to dump it yet. MMO login widget, create character login widget. OWS select character. So we want this one to be our MMO select character widget. And now we got to come here, select character widget, MMO select character widget. Change the type. Yep, we want to see everything that breaks. It's just loading over on this screen, but lots of them for that one. Now we'll connect those. And let's start fixing the errors. Okay, so this one's connected to two places. Get. Sometimes it's easier to not remove the bad one until after you have it fixed. Okay, and after each one we'll hit compile save to get the next one. Select character widget. TXT character name. Dump both of those. Compile save. Next one. It's the same thing again. Select character widget. TXT character name. Compile save, and the list is getting shorter. Okay, so we've got select character widget, button next character. That's connected to both. And it's probably going to do the previous button next. Yep. Copy this. Button. Oh no, this is select this character. Okay, previous will be after that. Drag that up there. You have to do all this stuff is when you're like, man, why couldn't this be code? It'd be so much easier. Okay, same thing here. Select character widget. Get button previous character. I'm trying to do this quick, to make the video shorter, but probably the downside of this is we're probably going to get to the end and it's not going to work. We'll see. I would suggest doing it slowly and double checking everything as you go. Okay. Well, that's a good sign right there. We'll go back to the event graph. Okay, cool. The loading widget's fine. You can leave that one. So we've got a character, MMO selection character, MMO create character, MMO login widget, and this change color we don't even care about. Yeah. Okay. So I think we're doing pretty good there. Okay. So login player controller is pretty good. The create's pretty good. We're still going to have to deal with the select. But before that, we need to talk about what we want to do with our character. So we're going to go open this third-person character with abilities. Now, right now, we just default loaded this. We just loaded this this mesh by default. But what we really want to do now is we don't want to load one by default. We want to let it pick which one to load. So we want to come in here to the mesh, and we want to basically set clear this skeletal mesh and clear this animation blueprint. Now in this case, we're going to use the same animation blueprint for both, but I've tried this. You can actually play the Ravager if you, the Rampage guy if you want. So in that case, it would be a different animation blueprint. So I'm going to show you how to do both the mesh and the animation blueprint, so you can do whatever kind of character. You could download all the Paragon characters into your game and play all of them. Now that they all have animation blueprints, which is nice. Okay. So what we need to do here is we need to make this work with replication. And so what we're going to do is we are going to create a function. So we go over to the function called set skeletal mesh. And we're going to send into that function the class name. We're going to use this in a few different places, which is why we're making it a function. Function-based programming is a very good idea because it supports reusable code. Okay, we're going to do a switch on string, and for these, we're going to have two of them, and they're going to be Seraph. And remember, these have to match that same thing we chose for the classes. I don't want to have to create a mapping table. You probably would want to create a mapping table because you may want the display name to be different than the behind-the-scenes name. But for this one, we're just going to match them exactly. This always confused me that they don't show the underscore, but it is there. Okay, so we're now going to drag our mesh to here, and we're going to say set skeletal mesh. We're going to create two of them. Oops. And this one's going to be for Seraph and default, just in case the class is still coming through as male warrior and some of your existing ones, it'll keep using the Seraph one. And then here we're going to use the Seraph. And for this one, we're going to use the Seraph future skin. You can pick whatever you want there. And I'm going to copy this mesh here, and we need to set the animation blueprint. So set anim instance class. And again, paste that down here, make sure it's connected. In this case, I'm doing this just to show you that you could do different ones, but I'm actually going to end up setting them. Wait, hold on. Yeah, I guess that's the name of the one. Making sure we pick the right one. There we go. So now this function can be called on our character. Look, I forgot to connect one. This function can be called on our character to switch it out because we don't start with one. So now we got to look at how we want to call this because we need to make this work in dedicated server multiplayer. And so what we're going to do is we're going to use a little trickery. So This may not be the best way, but I'm going to show you this because it's really useful in a lot of cases. So what we can do is we can create a class name that we're not actually interested in. That's why I'm going to add rep trigger on the end and create it as a string. And we're basically just going to use this to get it to call. So for this value, we're going to go to replication and set it to rep notify. Rep notify are one of the most useful things. Rep notify variables, use them everywhere because they replicate state. But it now created this onRep class name rep trigger. And so what we're going to do is we're going to come down here and make a custom event. And we're going to call it set skeletal mesh for class. Okay, and I always use these authority things, not because they're needed, because we may only be calling it from authority anyways, but to remind us, right, when we look at a event, what is it used for? So this is a documentation method as much as it is a safety. And now we're going to call from authority, we're going to call our set skeletal mesh. And we have a class name now if you installed the new plugin, and this gets loaded from the database on load. Okay, so this is running on authority, and we want to get this back to all of our clients. So we need to change this state. So what we're going to do is we're going to set this class rep trigger, and what will happen is as soon as this gets hit on the server here, authority, it will call this onRep class name rep onRep underscore class name rep trigger. It's the name of the variable, and it's going to call that on every connected client. And it will actually do it even for clients that aren't connected currently. So meaning if somebody logs in, it'll still call that because when they get that replicated, it'll get set. So this is safe for things that are out of network relevancy range, or for people who are logged off but then log in later, it'll still work. If you tried to use a multicast here, don't do that. Don't use multicast for anything that's non-temporal. What would happen is that it would appear to work great, everything would be fine, and as soon as someone else logged in, they would see you running around invisible with no mesh. Or if someone was outside of replication range when the multicast fired, and then later walked into range, they would not get that replicated to them, and it would you'd be basically invisible. This is the number one mistake that people make in using replication in blueprints. You see it everywhere. People are like, multicast this, multicast that. Don't do it. Don't do it. Replicated variables with notify. Okay, so that's going to get this function called. So let's go build that out. It's real easy, actually. We're going to call set skeletal mesh, and we're going to send in the value that we just replicated. And this thing makes sure, timing-wise, that it doesn't run this until after the value's changed, so we're guaranteed that this was the one from the server, and everything will match. Okay, now we created this set skeletal mesh for class, but we are not calling it. So we've got to go find somewhere good to call it. There's a lot of places we could throw it, but I'll try to keep stuff on this event on RPG initialization complete. This is after all of the values have loaded from the database into the character. And so we're running this asynchronous, meaning it kicks this off and then instantly continues. But in this case, the inventory is not going to create any timing issues with setting the skeletal mesh. So I feel safe enough to, not that one, set skeletal mesh for class. I feel safe enough calling that here. So this is actually going to continue to this before this one finishes, just because of the asynchronous nature of these calls. But sometimes you got to be careful. If this relied on something from this, it wouldn't be there. But in this case, inventory and skeletal mesh don't overlap in our game, so we're good. So that will now make sure that this gets called and that our mesh gets set. I don't like that being on this line because it makes it seem like they're related and they're not. So I'm going to move that down. Okay, so we've got that going for us. That looks good. So now we have to go to our select character. So back to login and our select character widget. And there's probably going to be a lot of problems here. Yeah, AWS login Playercontroller. See all those? So gotta fix these. MMO login Playercontroller. I'm going to create it, try something a little different here. Create it up above so I can see what I'm trying to match and hopefully not lose it. And then after I have it completely matched, I'll grab this and pull it down. Maybe that's going to work better. Okay, cast to MMO. Let's do this underneath here. Increment. And show current. And then we'll dump these. And drag this up. Okay, cast to connect with selected character. So I can do this without making any mistakes. And the last one. The nice thing now is that all of your UI is now going to be custom to your game. So this is a great time if you want to go in there and change the look of all of your login UI and everything, and really, make it set up for your game. This is a good time to do it because now everything has been pulled into your game, and you're no longer using the ones from the plugin. So, kind of a cool thing. Would have had to do this eventually anyway. Okay. That one should be good. Now I know the show current user character needs something added to it. So there's this new value class name. So I'm in MMO login Playercontroller show current user. And this is what normally did this color stuff. So, but we don't need to deal with the color anymore because we have a full skin. So I'm going to go and open this up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to dump this get cosmetic data. I don't want that. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a get all actors of class. So this is kind of weird. There's better ways to do this. But currently in the login level, I just dropped a character into the level. And so there's this character dropped into the level. And so I'm just going to use this to find it. A better way would, instead of just dropping it in, would have the login level create it and have a reference to it, and then we'll use the reference. But that's what we got right now. Third person character with abilities. And who knows, this may not return something, so we're going to do it the right way here and actually make sure it exists before we get a bad reference. Technically it should be there, since we know it's only loading on the login level, but always good to do some checks. So then after that, we'll do a get. This get a copy worried me, because I was like, wait, I don't want a copy, I want a reference, I actually have to change something. Apparently, that's labeled weird. It means that it's a copy of the one in the actors array from get actors of class, but it is actually a reference to the actual one. So sometimes those gets there in Blueprint don't make any sense, because we don't want to change a copy, we want to change the actual reference. So then what I'm going to do here is, okay, set skeletal, oh, we got to drag off here. Set skeletal mesh. Remember how we made that to be reusable? Here was why. And class name can get pulled from here, because that's what got pulled from the database and put in user characters, which we have to fix another spot to do with that as well. Okay. So that should pull the right one there. see, so there's somewhere where we're setting this user character. I remember I had to go in there and fix that. Let me find it. That's all good. Add character. So we've got this add character to list. And you see we've got class name here. So we need to get the class name into that, which means we have to add it here. So we're going to add a new parameter, class name. So we're in add character to list inside MMO login player controller. And we're going to drag this to here because what ended up happening is that if I didn't do this the first time, and when you added a new character, it didn't add the class initially, and so it loaded the wrong skin. If you exited the game and came back, then it was fine. But we needed it in there the first time. So when we create a new character, it shows the right look and not the wrong look. Okay, so that's fine, that's fine. Okay, now we gotta go find where we call that add character to list. Find references. Here's where we add it. So we're on the event graph, and we're going to cheat a little here. We're going to create last class name created. Because not a lot's going on here, we're probably okay with doing this. Oh. Wow, I didn't want that. So we're now sending that in, but we need to set that somewhere. And where we would set that is in our create widget. So we're going to go back over to our create and our create character widget. And what we're going to do is we're just going to come here and we've got to reference this MMO login player controller. We're going to say set last class name. There's probably a more elegant way to do this, but it's not that important. And we'll send that into there. And so that'll make sure that this gets run before it gets created, and then when it actually finishes being created, the values here in last class name created. Remember, this is all at this point we're running single player mode. It doesn't switch to multiplayer mode until you hit select this character. So all this run in single player, so we don't have to deal with replication. Okay, so that's going to plug that into there. I think we have most of it. So let's give it a try and see what errors we get. Okay, so to test this out, what we want to do is we want to come up here and uncheck Run Dedicated Server. And if you're not already, we want to make sure we're on this login level. And we want to make sure that the login level world settings, if you don't have that open, come show world settings here. You want to leave that one open. And make sure that it's on MMO login game mode, and make sure that the MMO login game mode is using MMO login player controller. And then we're going to hit play. So log in with a character, or a user, and hit login. Okay, so it's not setting our one here, which is problematic. Yep, these are ones I created for my test earlier. Okay, so this is not setting. It might be setting it right in game, but we're not. Oh, nope. I think I remember this. Hold on. We're hiding it. So let's go here. Whoa. Change to something more manageable. I think that we had set this to hidden in game previously. Details. Actor hidden in game. There we go. This one does. Okay, so you see we got the hitbox still visible there from one of our previous tests. Let's go open up our third-person character with abilities, and let's go find that hitbox and change it back to hidden in game. Again, what I would normally do here is I wouldn't just drop the actor in here, but that was a real easy way. So if I were you, I'd go here and create some, a nice screen that has separate, blueprints and things for all of this that isn't actually the character being dropped into the game. But this is going to work for our demo here. So test for demo. Yeah, there we go. Okay, let's see if this works. Future, see? So there, it changed. As we flipped it, it went and loaded it actually loaded the new animation blueprint too. Not that we really need it here, but it loaded the mesh and the animation blueprint. And basically the same thing's going to happen when we connect to the game. It's going to also switch the value because we added the set skeletal mesh to the loading of the game itself to match. Okay, so that's good. This change color, we want that gone. So we're going to come back here and select character widget, and we're going to go to this change color button. Bye-bye. I just hit the delete key. Okay, that should be good, and we need to test the create new character. Okay, let's come back over here. Run it again for demo. I got a future and a future 2. We'll start on one of these so we know that it's changing. And we'll say create new character and call it original 2. Oh, and we can change this to have a default one. I'm actually going to go do that. In the create character widget designer drop down, selected option. So we'll want to start that with a default. We'll say Seraph is the default. Compile, save, and we'll run it again. Make sure we're on one of these. Create a new character. We'll take that. We'll call it original 2. Oh, look at that. That was weird. We gotta check something on that. Okay, it did that right. Why didn't it take it the first time? Let's go take a look at that create widget. See if we mixed anything up. So this is what it did when we hit create. It checks to see the character name, length, has to be greater than or equal to 4 characters. Is there a new character name? Let's try it again. I might have just misclicked something. Test for demo. Choose this one. Future 3. Yeah, okay. I was just not clicking right. So there we go. So you can see as we're flipping through it, it's changing them. Now I can go test one of these. So I've created future 3, right? So to test this without running the whole game, we can go and change to the R world level. And we'll load all these up. And we're going to come into the game mode. And we're going to change this to future 3. And we're going to go back to run dedicated server. So you uncheck the dedicated server when you want to run the login map, and you check the dedicated server when you want to run the world. And there we go. You can see it loaded up the future one. And it loaded that skin. And as well as loading any of the stats that were connected to that class as well. So this is how you can change, what you're loading. You can change your character, your animation blueprint, and all of your stats. So now our game has the ability to To set up as many classes as we want, we can just go back to the management console, set up our classes. If you want to, for fun, go and play that Rampage guy that's over here, you can just go into that set Skeletal Mesh and have an option for Rampage, and you can set his Skeletal Mesh, and then you can set his animation blueprint, and go create a new class, and when you create one as Rampage, you'll get to load into the world and play him. So obviously there's going to be some problems with abilities and different things, so that's something we'll have to look into later, is getting the abilities to match the classes and stuff. But for now, at least you have a way to pick the character that's being played, as well as all the stats. So that's going to do it for today. Until next time.